What is a cornhole exactly? Does it really exist on a farm? The beanbag game? That's what I know it is. Okay, I think OP is not getting their question answered. He'll take a shot. The name cornhole is not referring to an actual object. These days, it's a term used for the game and a vulgar term for the anus. According to the Cornhole Worldwide website tapes, the term comes from a game in the 14th century where children would throw rocks into a groundhog hole. In the interest of safety for the children, a local carpenter made a slanted board with a hole and instead of rocks supplied the children with weighted bags. Those bags were weighted with, you guessed it, corn. That's where the term comes from. It can be a colloquialism for butt sex, but in this context it's a game where you throw a corn husk-filled bag through a hole at a set distance. Cornhole is a game, also known as bags, in which 2 to 4 people, 2 teams take turns throwing 4 cuboidal-shaped corned bean or other similarly shaped object-filled sacks about the size of a large orange-sized pierogi into a roughly 2x4 propped-up board from 27 away. The board has a single hole near the top which, if you throw your bag into that hole, you get 3 points as opposed to 1 point by throwing the bag onto the board. Bags must be tossed onto the board and cannot first touch the ground. Games usually go up to 11 or 21 points, with additional rules depending on who you play with. These additional rules are unimportant for the purposes of this description. An important thing to note is the rule of point cancellation, where if you throw a bag onto the board, and so does your opponent, the 1 point you get is cancelled out with the 1 point your opponent gets, resulting in no one getting points. E.g., I throw my bag into the hole. My opponent throws their bag on top of the board. We miss our other throws. Therefore, my 3 points cancelled out their 1 point, resulting in me gaining 2 points. Hope this helps. So, is the great Cornholio a gamer or a pervert? If I understood the question correctly, we have a corn pit and it is called a silage pit. Silage is a succulent feed for farm animals made from young corn stalks. It's my understanding they are like opinions. Everybody has one. Watch the movie Deliverance. It'll all be clear. It's similar to horseshoes. If you know that game, instead of throwing a horseshoe to ring a metal stake, you're throwing little bags of corn or beans or something onto a board. The goal is the hole. I guess you can play on a farm. I usually play it at like backyard BBQs. It should have been an Olympic sport by 2024. Cornhole sonhps:/m.youtube.com watch equals EO8x4PZQJ0BP equals IGUT UMID HQGB GLUA BJB3 DUA G9 CQ3D3D. Watch out for your cornhole, bud. Right next to the mom hole. Getting cornholed was basically equivalent to today's getting pegged. In the 70s, 80s, the game tended to be played at colleges and amongst young adults. Having a risque name that literally described the game was a big part of its popularity within this audience. Being as anal sex was very taboo at the time, not everyone was in on the joke. Nowadays, there's governing bodies and commercial cornhole sets sold in major department stores. But you made it yourself or bought it at a flea market. Very often the same sorts of people made these, and those old women bending over to weed the lawn signs. Cornhole equals chocolate starfish. I always thought cornhole was butt sex. It's super weird to hear it in an innocent way. In Alabama, it was beanbag. Beavis and Butthead seem to have helped spread cornhole with cornholio. Prior to that, cornhole was anal sex. My name is Cornholio. I need TP for my bunghole. In Indiana, it is a reference to gay men having anonymous sex in the woods or at parks. We call it cornholing, but the term is not used much anymore for obvious reasons. It's a game white people love. Hard to say. Where from we were too poor for bags of corn. We gathered cigarette butts around town and bagged them up instead. We called the game butthole. I guess it's different everywhere.